What does the success of Pathaan means to you, and what do you think is its importance as of now?
The South used to copy mostly from Bollywood in the 70s and 80s, like whether it's Mr. Rajnikant or Chiranjeevi or N.T. Ramarao. They used to remake mostly Amitabh Bachchan's films. Shah Rukh Khan, as a lover boy image from Dilwale time, many of his big hits are that. But him doing such a mass film, I mean, it's miles beyond, for example, something like Dawn, you know. And a 50 crore day one, we thought was almost impossible. Even Triple R couldn't do it in Hindi. Suddenly, it looks like a Hindi production house, a Hindi director, and a Hindi hero have done far bigger numbers than whatever the South commercial directors did. So I think it is going to put a break to the speed at which people are thinking about the so-called pan-India market.
All sorts of things were said about Shah Rukh Khan, that that this is it, and things are not happening, things are not working out, and then suddenly he just hits the ball out of the park.
I am not very sure I would want to credit Shah Rukh alone for this, because it's the same Shah Rukh, we know that past few films haven't worked. It's a combination of the kind of film it is, that mass hysteria which generated the action and blah blah everything. If an unknown guy called Yash can do 500 crore business, Shah Rukh Khan doing 500 crore is not a big deal. So which means it is a combination. Yes, Shah Rukh is a much more known name than Yash. But if Yash also can do that business, a Kantara can become a big hit, or a Pushpa, when nobody in Hindi belt knows Arjun. So I think the stardom aspect, still I doubt it will be the same as before, because even in recent times I've seen so many films with big names not working at the box office.
And what about Shah Rukh Salman moment? Did you like that?
So that kind of synchronized fighting, because they're two stars and both of them getting up at the same time and doing one punch each and one kick each, that style doesn't impress me.
Mr. Varma, pleasure having you with me on Connect FM Canada.
Hi, thank you.
So, Mr. Varma, you tweeted something about Pathaan. You've been someone who has always spoken your mind as far as the film industry is concerned. What does the success of Pathaan means to you, and what do you think is its importance as of now?
See, I was one of the guys who really believed that it'll take a long time for Bollywood to probably see what's happening, why the South films, the dub films are doing so well. Because I felt, as a small background to this, see, the South used to copy mostly from Bollywood in the 70s and 80s, like whether it's Mr. Rajnikant or Chiranjeevi or N.T. Ramarao. They used to remake mostly Amitabh Bachchan's films. You know, that's how the stardom grew in the first place. But I think in the early 90s or maybe mid 90s, the Hindi industry, suddenly the audio companies have taken over, like Tips and Time, and they started making musicals to sell the music. That is when the masala genre of the films, of what they used to make in 70s and 80s, has completely gone out of vogue, and which brought stars. So you only used to hear music at that time. But the South technically never stopped making those kind of films, which is the reason the demigod status of Pavan Kalyans and all these people who are as Tarak and all that maintained. You know, I think maybe Gajini was the first time in recent times when suddenly Amit tried a South style film, which worked very well, but it was taken as a one off, because most of the directors in Bollywood, they're South Bombay and Juhu, they are educated guys and grew up on Western cinema. So they always had this thing to look down upon the so-called masala genre. You know, then Bahubali also, I think, was a very expensive period drama. It was taken as a one-off. I think first time Bollywood really woke up is when the Pushpas, and in recent times KGF 2 and these films. So these commercial makers like Prashant and Rajmouli, they're very, very mass-based people. Their thinking and their sensibility, I thought it's going to take a long time for Bollywood to understand, because that thing has gone out of their genes is what I thought. But Pathaan kind of pleasantly surprised me, because not that movies like Pathaan haven't been made before. There's War, there is Tiger Zinda and all that. But I think Shah Rukh Khan as a lover boy image from Dilwale time, or many of his big hits are that. But him doing such a mass film, I mean, it's miles beyond, for example, something like Dawn, you know. And a 50 crore day one, we thought was almost impossible. Even Triple R couldn't do it in Hindi. And suddenly, the Pathaan doing this kind of number, I think it jolted everyone back from where they are. And now the South also, I don't think will be in such a hurry to get into Hindi again. Let's check the Hindi market, because suddenly it looks like a Hindi production house, a Hindi director, and a Hindi hero have done far bigger numbers than whatever the South commercial directors did. So I think it is going to put a break to the speed at which people are thinking about the so-called pan-India market. Yeah. So now, because of the huge success of Pathaan, I'm sure all the Hindi stars also will be getting into the genre, which means they will again get back to the 70s and 80s, which I think is fantastic, which is what all big ticket films are about at the end of the day.
That's amazing. So, sir, the tweet that you did, basically, it also speaks about the fact that there is this tendency within the industry, especially within the industry and the media, that to write off someone. All sorts of things were said about Shah Rukh Khan, that this is it, and things are not happening, things are not working out, and then suddenly he just hits the ball out of the park. Um, what does it tell you about the tenacity as far as Shah Rukh is concerned?
See, I am not very sure I would want to credit Shah Rukh alone for this, because see, the same Shah Rukh, we know that past few films haven't worked. It's a combination of the kind of film it is, that mass hysteria which generated the action and blah blah everything. I would not like to believe. I think overall, if you look at it in the last few years, Hollywood, maybe 20 years back, I used to know stars like Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and all that. Pretty much these days, no one talks about stars anymore, with the exception of maybe a Tom Cruise once in a while. And you don't have a tendency to go to see films which, I mean, you're not asking who's the star, which is pretty much what happened here. Nobody knows Yash even in South, actually, except for Kannada industry. But the kind of business KGF 2 did all over the place, including Hindi, which is like almost sent a signal you don't need a star anymore. It is a film itself which becomes a brand, which is pretty much what Hollywood is doing. I have no idea who's there in Fast and Furious. You might know the names, but they are not the reason why you're going to watch a film. So the star system, I don't believe it is the same as before. So if an unknown guy called Yash can do 500 crore business, Shah Rukh Khan doing 500 crore is not a big deal. So which means it is a combination. Yes, Shah Rukh is a much more known name than Yash. But if Yash also can do that business, a Kantara can become a big hit, or a Pushpa, when nobody in Hindi belt knows Arjun. So I think the stardom aspect still, I doubt it will be the same as before, because even in recent times I've seen so many films with big names not working at the box office. But I think the masala genre of wanting to clap and get up and whistle, that kind of a large scale action and VFX, that I think is what happened in Hollywood a long time back, is happening now here.
You're talking about, say, Pushpa, for example, but Allu Arjun is very, very popular. Even his last film, Ala Vaikuntapuram Lu, it had done extraordinary business before that.
See, popular means if you're talking about the video, if you're talking about satellite, which everybody knows, but no one thought the numbers of South heroes can go beyond Hindi stars. That is what which is the difference which happened in the last few years. Like nobody could have imagined a Yash film can do 500 crore. A Prabhas, see, he might have a dubbing market, satellite dubbing, but which in case if the Bollywood industry realized it, why didn't they try to release the South dub films before? Now, again, it took only these people's initiative to go into that market and release it theatrically. So that is what I'm saying. So if Shah Rukh Khan film, let us assume Pathaan will do 500, whatever, somewhere around that. But if Yash also can do 500, then it's not a big deal that there is a certain star in the film. That's what I'm saying.
But sir, as you said that when the music companies came in and they started making films around music, and that's when this entire larger than life persona that Mr. Bachchan had, and which was in many ways emulated by South stars. South stars continued to do the larger than life films. You gave the example of Tarak and Pawan Kalyan and all those things. But if we look at Pathaan, the people are talking about that Shah Rukh and Salman's moment. Uh, like in terms of stardom, if we talk about the sort of you've seen the film, the way it is being, I think the sort of response that it's getting, it's unprecedented. So somewhere I think the stardom factor does work as well, and obviously it is a
No,
film
no,
in
it's, I
integrity.
am no, I am no, no, I am not denying that, but I'm saying at the same time we also need to understand why out of the blue a Rajamouli film comes a Bahubali or a Triple R, and it goes across the whole world without knowing the people. Like Ram Charan film, Zanjeer hasn't worked. Like you obviously you know that, you know. But them coming in this kind of a package, for example, uh, my question is, because it worked, we'll have to think of some reason or other why it worked. How can anyone explain KGF 2's success? That is not about stardom at all. Even if KGF 1 was there, it had maybe a 40 CR of theatrical or something at the time when KGF 1 came. And when it was running on in the streaming platforms, I don't remember anyone talking about the KGF. Film is coming. I mean, KGF 1 success could not have really preempted KGF 2's success. So I think, and it's a clear-cut example. I always believe that we are about 20 years behind Hollywood. Whatever it does, and we catch it up after 20 years. So the point of the film by itself becoming a brand, if you take a Spider-Man, no matter how many times they change the hero, it still works on a big ticket and it becomes one of the biggest hits, you know. So it's not as if they're casting a star all the time. The film, the largeness of the film itself, I think, becomes a star. That is the kind of times I think we are living in. If I mean, I would like to believe if suppose Tiger Shroff film has not worked, the last one I think is Hero Panti 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
No? Yeah. So if Tiger Shroff was there in Pathaan, would it work? I don't know. So I'm saying that it becomes a very difficult thing to know if it is a film overall by itself is creating that impact, or is it because of one specific person, like a hero, like a star?
Okay, so basically you're saying that I think it's the product as a whole. It's the director's vision. Maybe I think Abbas Tyrewala's dialogues are something that are being talked about. Same in Pushpa, that the dialogues of Pushpa they became very very famous. KGF 2 dialogues as well, they became very famous as well. So you're basically saying that as a whole, it's an entire package.
As a whole, I think that's what I'm saying. The film is becoming a brand. It is not really so much about who's in it and who's directed it also. If you look at Hollywood, and that's what which surprises me, I don't know directors, with the exception of James Cameron, names of like Spielberg, who's been there, done there for the last 40 years, maybe or something. And if you look at it, the first 2 weeks of Avatar collections were lesser than the top 5 Hollywood films which opened across the world. And no one knows the names of the directors also, you know. So I think the film by itself is that is where it is going. If you look at Netflix, for example, I mean, one of the most successful shows of all time, like Narcos. I don't know who directed Narcos, and nobody's asking also. So I think the brand is the film by itself. It is not anymore really necessary that so and so is going to make it run. That is how it seems because of the unexpected huge success of films like Kantara and KGF and all that. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, and Mr. Verma, what about you're a producer as well, you're a director as well. What about that production values? What is the importance of production values? Because this is a discussion that I've been having with quite a few people within the industry, that there are certain things that you can just shoot in, say, Film City, for example. You can make a set and you can shoot it over there, and you can do a lot of things as far as the VFX tables is concerned. But at the same time, you choose locations which are like spectacular, which have never been seen before, and you actually go over there. You spend money. You use like the choppers and the drones and the works and design certain action sequences.
So I think the audience have always been unpredictable. It's not like this is the first time it's happening. Very small films suddenly become such big hits, and big films, tank all the time. So I think there is no hard and fast rule of this is the reason why. Like, for example, when Prabhas was doing Radhe Shyam, I mean, their thinking was that if you make a love story, but with unimaginable visual style and for beauty of seeing backgrounds which had never been seen, computer generated in love story. But when the movie flopped, you talk about the story. You know, the production values didn't do anything for that. Now, why would a Kantara? Technically, I don't think it's more than a 5 crore film because I know the directors, village, they shot the whole thing, a forest nearby. And that nobody asking about production values when they watch a Kantara, for example. If you go to very early times, one of my biggest examples about production values is in 1999, a film released of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, directed by Stanley Kubrick. You know, most awaited films of all time because Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman were the biggest stars of the day at that time. And along with that, a film released which literally did 3 times that business. Like, it's on a production budget of $30,000. The film was made, and it collected $250 million. Whereas a $60 million Ice White Shut Stanley Kubrick film that stopped at 100, and a $30,000 film collected $250 million, and the film's name is Blair Witch Project. So Blair Witch Project, I would think, in world cinema, it would have been the least production valued film. But so I think that's how art, if you can use that word, it happens. Bottom line is whether it is gripping or not. Like big production values, if the fundamental emotional content doesn't grip you, you just get used to it in the first 10 minutes. Even if you look at the critics' reviews, they might passingly mention about the production values, but eventually them liking or not liking will be the dialogue, will be the performances, will be the basic context of the film. And my belief is that, for example, when
Okay,
I made Satya has no production values at all. It was shot with Arri 2 camera, people running. Not that there were no cameras at that time. That just before that I made Rangila. But I thought the grit of the subject value will only happen if we don't have production values. And which is but if I very carefully get the best DOPs and production design of Mahim Bridge, and of all that I put up huge sets, I think the film won't remain the same. So production values are about what is required. And many times production values kill a film, which I think is one very big case in point is Radhesham. If that film was made with Prabhas and maybe a 10 crore budget, it had chances of being much better than what it did.
okay, and did you like Besharam Rang, the song?
Yeah. I liked everything. I liked the action. It is not realistic, but I think it is not necessary. Cinema always needs to be realistic. It gives you a spectacle like a comic book. I would say in a comic book, is expecting it to be realistic, but I think it stokes a certain instinct in us. The child in us, it gets out. It gets out with that kind of action.
And what about Shah Rukh Salman moment? Did you like that?
Yeah, like that is very difficult thing for me to say because I am not anymore like I'm into stars or something. Probably I've crossed that phase. I'm more interested in the film by itself. So that kind of synchronized fighting, because they're two stars and both of them getting up at the same time and doing one punch each and one kick each, that style doesn't impress me. But I can understand why people are going gaga about it.
All right, and Mr. Varma, what I personally felt when I saw that tweet of yours about Pathaan and Shah Rukh, that somehow there is this tendency many a times within the film industry to write people off. We hear that about Ram Gopal Varma as well, but Ram Gopal Varma has always surprised his fans, his critics. Um, Somewhere that tweet came from your own space as well, in a way.
I mean, I think that is the truth ever since the movie camera was invented and the film was released. We hear this from Rajesh Khanna onwards, or maybe before that, the black and white time. I'm not aware that much about it. And I think it's justified because when someone gets so much of fame, and people are always jealous of people who become famous and celebrities, and they'll be just waiting for the day they're going to come down so that it'll give them a vicarious pleasure in terms of to see someone come down. And I think it's a part of human nature. It's nothing to feel bad about or anything. I think that's a part of being human, to wanting to see someone come down. It could be a result of jealousy or their own insecurity and all that. And psychological, I think, is a very understandable emotion. And it's very clear in the context of why would Rajamouli take 20 years to reach, international fame? His basic talent will be the same all the time. So it's a question of timing. It's a question of so many unknown factors coming together.
Okay, so do you discuss your drunk tweets later with Rajamouli sir?
Yeah, we keep chatting quite regularly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But what is the success of Triple R on the international stage mean to you?
I mean, see, but that's the whole point, you know. So I mean, so for me, my surprise about particularly Triple R. Okay, I mean, maybe I don't know right now whether all the Oscars have been announced. I think they are. I'm not sure. So the point is, everyone has, like I said, a child in it. Like it's like, you know, it's like guilty pleasures. So what on one hand, you think cinema should have a message, it should have a certain deep emotional context, which is not what Triple R. In fact, I said this even to Rajmouli when I saw Triple R. I felt it was a circus, you know. And I didn't mean it in a bad way, because a circus entertains you for 3 hours, and it's always full of items and items. Yes, there is a comedian in between. There's a joker which comes, but joker is not circus. He's also a part of the entire show. So when in the introduction scene, when they rescue that boy from the river and the rope work, the last time I saw something like it was in Gemini Circus. People swinging in the ropes, through the ropes, and catching each other's hands and that thing. So I meant it as a compliment. So I think films work on different levels. All of them don't need to do the same thing or whatever people think. If you go into a bookshop, there'll be thousands of books. You won't read all of them. Probably, even if you're given 1 hour, you might be able to pick up 5 or 6 of your choice. And who is reading the other 1,000? How many more are reading something you didn't pick up much more than what you would, you know? So I think films, when they belong to so many different emotions, so many people, and some kind of films like Triple R, or maybe, of course, Pathaan now, they cater to so the majority of mindsets, which is the reason it shows in the numbers.
Okay, and what do you tell to people who keep on asking you, when is it that Mr. Verma is going to make another Satya?
I mean, I'm so tired of answering this question. See, repeatedly I said this line: no one can make a great film. You can make a film, it becomes great for some reason, things come together and people like it. Now, say there's Anurag Kashyap, there is a Manoj Bajpayee, there is me, of course, and there is a host of things which went into the making of Satya, and none of us could do it again, which is the reason I'm saying then you should not take credit. Because I think a film is like a child you give birth to, but what the child grows up to become is never in your control, which is what I think exactly the analogy of cinema can be. And each and every director, any filmmaker in the entire world will want to make the best film there is. Otherwise, why would he make it? Nobody will think, let's make an average film. But whether it becomes that or not is completely not in the control of anyone. So for me to answer this question, when you make another Satya, is I think there's nothing to answer in that. Yeah.
Mr. Verma, as always, wonderful talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
And all the best wishes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.